Arian walked into the forest, and the thin fog was traveling on the trees, and the birds screamed like scattered hymns. The leaves were rustling, and he carried his old backpack and thought to himself, this place is stronger than the ghostly tillage in the village. He was curious like a scratching slut, forcing him to speed up his pace. A humble man flies from the deep forest, like a murmur in his ears, blurred. He stopped and heard his eyebrows. What's this sound, is calling me? He said to himself, his body couldn't help but move forward. The humor was like a hidden joke, causing the nearby birds to explode and their wings to flap into a mess. He jumped up and shouted, "Hey, are you so shocked?" The birds disappeared in an instant, leaving only empty branches. He shook his head. My brain is like a curious monkey, I always love to follow the root of the matter, maybe it's just a wind blowing on the leaves. Despite thinking this, my heart was a little hot and I felt that the forest was warning, but he became stubborn. Don't worry about it, let's go first. The forest became denser and denser, and the light was stuck by easy, leaving only the light spots jumping on the ground. He soon discovered that he had lost his way, the branches were lying like living things, and the road was narrower. Diet, this place is like a maze of evil drama. He cursed and his low voice sounded again, making it clearer, as if it was inspiring. He walked forward in the sound, hitting a stone wall, engraving strange runes. The runes glowed in the fog, and when he touched them, the lines vibrated and stinged his arm. He took a quick step back. Wow, will this thing move? It's not the sound. The air became cold, and a gust of air pushed him, as if saying, continue in. He gritted his teeth. Okay, I have to figure it out. The entrance to the cave is right in front of it, the darkness swallows everything, and the sound of the whisper is like a heartbeat. He walked in with his feet, his eyes fitting the light, and saw the dust and spider network. This place is like a secret base of old antiques, and there may be something fun. He thought to himself, feeling anxious and uneasy. Walk a few more steps forward, and a rune lit up, scaring him back. The air is moved, and the rune light spreads, forming a barrier. He tried to escape, but he couldn't move, and he pulled it with force. Don't have it, this time I've lost it. The huge thunder exploded from the depths, and a large figure appeared, and the foil reflected a glimmer of light, and the air shook. Sirius, the ancient dragon, roared with silence, silly humans, how dare you wake me up? Dragon's voice made Arian's legs soft. He wanted to escape, but was blocked by an invisible chain. I don't know this will happen, but it feels like the guidance of fate. He gasped and replied, his heart furious, this guy is too big, what should I do? But this sound is the one I heard. Sirius lowered his head, his eyes flashed like a torch. Are you a little thing, and you think you are a great hero? Humans always think you are self-righteous. Arian stood up tightly, I'm not a hero, I just heard the sound. What are you? Why do you talk to me? Long hummed, and the heat came. I am Sirius, the ancient guardian. You touched the contract and we were all together. A burst of energy flowed from the dragon into Arian's body, and he felt blood in his body. Is this magic? I feel that the blood in my body is swelling. He was shocked and immediately came back to his senses. Old, you'd better explain it clearly, otherwise I won't be with you. Sirius smiled lightly. Explanation? You have to go out alive first. Aaron clenched his fist tightly, then let it go. I won't let go. At that moment, he stared into the dragon's eyes, thinking, it's so numb. Arian burst out, and the new energy in his body was still buzzing, like a group of fire shaking in his chest. He stared at the forest around him, and the mist suddenly seemed to have passed away. The trees twisted into flash runes, and the world became like an out-of-control dream. He shouted, what's going on? The forest was just fine, and now it looks like it's reorganized by something. The runes were beating in the fog, like invisible hands painting, making his heart beat rhythmically. Those runes not only flashed, but also emitted low voices, like the echo of the wind blowing through the leaves, but deeper, like digging his brain. The shadow emerged from the fog, and the twisted branches formed into human form and approached him. One of them stretched out a branch, as if trying to grab his shoulder. He quickly opened it and shouted loudly, "What are you?" "Don't rely on it, I'm not interested in playing this game." The virtual people did not answer, but only blew the vibrating low words, and the sound turned into pieces of the war, the sound of the golden iron crashing, mixed with shouting from afar. The flashing of the picture in Arian's brain was not a hero's battle, but his memories when he was a child. The village was looted by Imperial soldiers, and the flames and cries that night made him feel cold all over, as if he was being pulled back to that lonely night. He tried to run, but his steps seemed to be stuck, and each step hit another rune, and the floor turned into a living net. "Don't die, it feels like the forest is reading my mind," he thought to himself. The picture in his brain became clearer, the virtual shadows began to imitate his childhood fears, and a virtual shadow turned into a blurred soldier shape, approaching him. He punched it. "Go on, you're pretending. Don't pull me back to the dead past." The voice retreated a little, and the whisper turned into a mocking murmur, making him even more angry. Just when he was about to be drowned by those sounds, Sirius's voice sounded lightly in the brain, not direct commands, but like a verb. "When you hear the rhythm of your heartbeat, that's the key." Arian was stunned for a moment, and flicked away from the silhouette and said, "You, an experienced guy, always say half of it. What key? Let's talk clearly." He closed his eyes and tried to feel his heartbeat. The drums became stronger and stronger, as if guiding the direction. The videos approached again, and one of them grabbed his arm, and he screamed in pain, "Let go. I don't have time to chat with you." But under the guidance of his heartbeat, he turned around and crashed into a hidden passage. The passage was darker and the runes were flashing like a trap. He accidentally stepped on one, stinging all over his body, making him kneel down. "Don't, I'm really having a big deal now," he thought to himself, and the reminiscence in his brain surged up. That night he hid under the tree, hearing his father's shouts disappear, leaving him alone in front of the air. "I can't just fall down like this. This dragon is testing me." He gritted his teeth and stood up. Sirius's voice came again, this time even more blurry. "My past is a chain, what about yours? Are you running away or facing each other?" Arian stared at the air and shouted, "Face to face for what? Your chains? Or my childhood? Don't just swear words and tell me the truth." The video heard his shouts and came up violently. The lowly words turned into threatening roars, and he slapped them. "Roll open, you snails." He followed his heartbeat and rushed forward. The passage turned into a mystery, and each turn seemed to be fighting against his own fear. Finally, a rune door lit up in front of his eyes. Sirius's voice faded, leaving only one sentence, "That's your way out." Aaron took a deep breath and pushed the door open, the light swallowing him. When he woke up, he was already lying outside the forest. The birds screamed and the wind blew over the leaves, and everything looked normal. He stood up and saw the birds scattering in panic. He walked to himself. "Are you scared? Don't say it, so am I." He touched his arm, and his energy was still jumping in his body, thinking, "I have to figure it out now that these runes are not just illusions, they dug out something I don't want to face." He turned toward the village, his pace even more stable. Arian moved along the winding valley road, and the morning fog wrapped around him like a wet blanket, and the smell of earth and metal in the air made him shiver. "This place is so strange, I feel like I have two eyes staring at it," he thought in his heart, speeding up his pace, touching the short knife on his waist unconsciously, and the energy in his body hit his chest again, like an egg-killing ghost that made him feel at ease. A group of black armored men emerged from the fog. They were patrol teams of the Imperial Dragon Knights. The leader of the head swept over Arian's body with a flash rod. "Stop! Boy, there's something on your lit," he shouted, his voice thundering, and several riders immediately raised their ropes and surrounded them. Arian froze and pretended to hold his hands firmly. "Wait, I'm just a woodcutter, coming from the village. Are you doing something wrong?" He said that after retreating, his brain flew forward, thinking, "These guys are definitely not here for a walk. They looked at me as if they were staring at a bomb." A rider sneered and lifted up the detector, shorted, "That's the energy of the dragon swears, telling you that you have a contract." "Which dragon gave you?" Just explain, otherwise we won't be polite. Contract? Bastard, I haven't seen it even. Aaron roared back, suddenly flashing a rider's grip, and the energy flashed on his arm. Another rider shouted, "It's a taboo thing. Shoot him." They pushed each other, panicking, and a tall and thin guy pulled the sword and said, "If this guy runs away, his head will be covered by our skin, and he will have to be taken back for inspection." Arian felt as if his whole body was burned by fire, and shouted in his heart, "Sarais, you are such an old slippery head, don't be slapped to death now." Arian's voice came like the wind on his ears, "Listen to the valley, kid, it's not me to save you, it's those stones and tree roots." Arian glanced at the pile of loose stones on the road, and his brain turned, "Okay, let's try." He rushed towards the pile of stones, kicked open, and the stone fell to the small slope below, hitting the pursuer's path. "The trap that should die," a rider shouted, and the stone knocked over two people, and they fell into a group and shouted everywhere. "Don't let him slip away, there's a curse in this valley." The leader of the night shot an arrow, which brushed Arian's shoulders, and he gritted his teeth in pain. "Do you guys think they are hunters? I'm not your hunt." He slapped his energy with his hands, and a blurred barrier emerged from the surface, like a group of rapidly spreading smoke to catch the way. After the pursuers retreated, they became a porridge. "What is that?" "Dragon's illusion," the tall and thin shouted, and the other said in panic, "I heard that this kind of thing can swallow arrows." "Retreat, don't be hard." Aaron took advantage of the trouble and entered the narrow small plain. The energy backfired, causing the visual line to become a whirlpool. He shook his body and thought to himself, "Now my head seems to be cracked, as if it was smashed by someone with a knife." Sarais murmured again, "Go forward, boy, your determination is harder than this valley." "My determination? Stop being rude, you'd better give me more tips, otherwise I really want to get rid of you." Aaron gasped and responded, grabbed the tree and calmed down, and left to dodge into the crack. The chasing shouts of the pursuers resounded behind him, "He used the things in the valley to trick us. Continue chasing, don't let him go into the underground river." Arian lowered his body and flashed, and anger surged in his heart, "This is how my father was dragged away that night, and I won't repeat it." Finally, I entered the dark underground river channel, and the river water flowed, and the dripping sounded like a heartbeat. Arian gasped against the rock wall, and the pursuers' voices gradually dissipated. "It feels like hiding from a storm, but my whole body is still burning," he said to himself, touching the light on his arm. "Sarais, you are a little reliable, but don't think I believe you completely." He stood up and walked slowly along the river, thinking, "This is a big trouble, and you have to think of a way to deal with them." Arian climbed out of the exit of the underground river, and the muddy stone made him slip, and he was furious. The smell of metal and smoke from the morning fog seemed to wake up his brain. In the woodland, soldiers from the Black Dragon army were busy wiping their weapons, and a pile of armor flashed under the shadow of the trees. Their movements were rapid, as if something would explode at any time. "What's that?" a scout suddenly shouted, pointing at the energy light on Arian's waist. The light flashed again, like a rebellious torch lit up in the fog. "Look! That's the trace of dragon language." His voice was as thick as sandpaper. "Head, this guy may be able to help. We are about to deal with the lackeys of the Empire." The warden around him stopped what was on his hands and rushed forward a few times. The weapons were slightly raised, but his face was not completely enemies. A tall and thin soldier said to the leader in a low voice, "Wait, is he a gang? We don't have to worry about it." Arian stepped back and thought to himself, "This brain bag is burned like it's burned by fire, why do I always step on this kind of mine?" He tried to block the light. "Hey, I'm not here to make trouble. Let me go, I haven't seen anything." His voice was still in the air, and the leader of the Black Dragon army, a beardless slut, pushed the way opener, grinned, "Boy, your stuff is as bright as a lamp. Join us, we're going to overthrow the Empire's men, they've snatched our territory for too long." "I don't want it," Aaron replied, slowly retreating, "I'm a passerby, don't drag me into your play." But the tall and thin soldier didn't buy a note. "Head, if he runs away, our plan will be ruined. At this moment, the tree at the back came and shouted, "That's a traitor of the Empire. Don't let him escape." The leader of the rider group roared. Their arrows were already on the strings, and their faces were full of fear, as if they saw a ghost. The battle broke out immediately. The soldiers of the Black Dragon army turned around to meet, and the sound of the sword hitting the shield was like firecrackers exploding. Arion was slapped in the middle, and a rider rushed towards him and threw him over. "Catch him! That's a taboo thing," the rider shouted. Arion opened his body, tilted his body, and he could instinctively release energy, and a fuzzy barrier emerged, holding the attack. But this time it was different. A backlash force hit his chest like a fist. He felt his legs soft and thought, "Don't die, this time the energy seems to be a bite back, I have to calm down quickly." "Concentrate your energy, I will help you to pull that arrow." Sirius's voice rose in the sea of his brain, low and anxious. Arion gritted his teeth and shouted, "Okay, you'd better be a little bit." The barrier spread and forced a few riders to retreat. The leader of the Black Dragon took the opportunity to kill an enemy. "Boy, prove yourself now. Join us and deal with those pressure people. We need your ability." "I'm not sure yet." Arion gasped and avoided a soldier's attack. He glanced at the tall and thin soldier in the army quarreled with another member. "We can't pull people in trouble. Will he attract more Imperial soldiers?" The tall and thin soldier roared, and the leader replied, "Close your mouth, this is an opportunity." This internal warfare made the war even more aggravated. Arion seized the opportunity and created a phantom, like a fake self, which caused the riders to be distracted. "You're all going far away," he shouted gasping. The phantom made a rider crash into the tree and let out a bang. Sirius interrupted again, "Push them with my guidance, but be careful to backfire." A warm current surged from Arion's chest, helping him to catch a rain of arrows, but he felt his arms start to tremble, like an electric shock. "You are always half-baked," he thought to himself, and a curiosity surged in his heart. What he actually hid, it doesn't feel like he was helping with it at will. While the army and the rider were quarreling, Arion rushed towards the woodland, and the phantom continued to fight against the enemy. The battle gradually scattered, and the sound of killing turned into a spell and gasping. Arion pulled into a narrow strip of narrow strips, leaning against the tree and gasping for breath. The tall and thin soldier shouted far away, "Head, we have to chase him." But the leader yelled back, "Be careful first." Arion touched the wound on his shoulder, thinking, "This time I felt like my whole body was knocked over." This old man always had recoil for help, and I had to think about it not entirely on him. Sirius said lightly, "I saw the dragon in the war and saw that it was destroyed. Now, I want to protect it from happening again." Arion was stunned and sat down against the tree. "What are you saying?" "You've messed up with marijuana," he murmured, sneering in his heart. "My dad was caught because of this, you'd better not be playing with me." He grabbed the knife, stood up and continued to move forward. Arion walked along the forest little land. The sunlight under the morning fog was like a raw knife, cutting the leaves and surging on the collapsed stone pillar. He heard the vernacular come again, like a malicious ear, crawling into his brain, allowing him to step a step. This sound of death always appears at the worst. He thought to himself, swaying around, and the shadows swayed like living creatures. "Here! It's the dragon language user," an Imperial rider rushed out of the bush and shouted. His long spear pointed at Arion, and his armor reflected in the fog. The other soldiers followed, surrounded in half a circle, and a tall and thin guy growled, "Don't move. We have a tracker to lock you." After retreating, Arion thought, "These guys are definitely here to add trouble, I have to think of a new trick." He glanced at the stone pillars beside him. The rough surface was full of ancient runes. "I'm not the object you're going to catch," he shouted, and kicked at the stone pillar with one foot. The stone crumbled, smashing out ash and gravel, squeezing the rider's way. "Hey, look, this thing is not something I did." The tall and thin soldier took a surprised step back and said to the leader, "Hey, did he use the scourge to fight back? This kid is not simple." The war broke out immediately, and the members of the Black Dragon army appeared behind the tree, and a big Han rushed towards the riders, shouting, "The lackey of the Empire, open!" Arian seized the opportunity and shouted, "Why do you always fight? I just want to figure out what this verb is." The black dragon leader glanced at him, and the side attacked the side, saying, "Boy, if you can control that thing, join us. We don't care about the rules of the Empire." Arian felt a swelling in his chest and complained in his heart, "This is a three-way dispute, I have to go away quickly." He responded to the humor, trying to make the sound resonate in the air, like a slogan. The low words are amplified, turning into a vague echo, jumping from the stone pillars, confusing the riders. "That's a sensibility." "Don't listen," a rider shouted, but they were still distracted. The black dragon soldier took the opportunity to push in, and Dahan shouted, "He can interfere in whispers. Let's pull him in." Arian replied embarrassedly, "Wait, I didn't help me on purpose. This thing ran out at will." He opened an attack and pushed the soldier towards the stone pillar, allowing the other party to bump into it, creating more chaos. The sound of the killing and the metal colliding was like a rainstorm, and Arian thought to himself, "If this continues, I may really want to work with these guys." While the riders were dragged, he rushed towards the pass deep in the forest. "Don't let him run," the leader of the rider yelled, but the black dragon leader held them and said, "Wait, he's useful to us." Arian walked into the narrow passage, and crossed the pursuit's footsteps behind him. He gasped, thinking, this old escape game has to change some new styles. Finally, he entered a dark grotto, and the tide of air swept like cold water on his face, making him stop and breathe on the wall. The low voice is still rumbling, as if it is still lingering. "Sarais, who are you?" he murmured, no longer resisting the sound. "You always speak half-heartedly, why?" The old man's voice burst into tears, calmly bringing some fatigue. "I have seen too many people destroy everything for long language and don't want to come back." Arian was stunned, and a sense of curiosity surged in his heart, feeling that his whole body seemed to be ignited. "You old man, do you have a story?" He grabbed the short knife, stood up, and the sound of patrolling far away made him hold the hilt of the knife alertly. Arian leaned against the tied stone wall of the cave, gasping for breath, and his low voice froze in his brain, like a bad idea that he refused to remain calm. He glanced at the torchlight from afar, and the dragon knights of the Empire were approaching. "Don't die, these guys won't let us go easily," he thought to himself, holding the short knife tightly, sweating in his palms. Suddenly, a low voice burst out, and he pronounced those strange sounds loudly, and a wave of heat came out from his chest. This time it is not just a confusion of the senses. The storm of the storm swept over the grottos like a shaped whip, twisting the air, and touching the ancient traps on the rock walls. The stones cracked, and the huge rocks fell from the sky and hit the riders. One of the riders shouted, "Beware! Something is alive under the ground." They panicked, but a rock hit the team leader's leg directly, and he fell to the ground and yelled in pain. The beast men seized the opportunity and cracked the thief from the side. Leader Grok, a tall and solid guy, looked at Arian with a sneer and roared, "Is that dragon? Brother, you not only stole them, but also made this place counterattack." He slapped his companion, and a group of beasts rushed towards the riders, and the opportunity caused by the storm would raid. One beast cut off the torch of the rider with an axe, and the other grabbed a fallen guy and shouted, "Imperial dog, taste your next scene." Arian stepped back and complained in his heart, "This is not just a distraction, I seem to have used the entire cave as a weapon." The remaining men of the patrol team fought back, but the traps and storms made them a gang. A rider yelled, "Demon! Message number!" Grok laughed, flashed a sword, grabbed Elian's arm and said, "Boy, you're not just lucky, we have to talk. Your ability can make us turn around and deal with the bastards in the Empire." Elian pushed him out and gasped, "I just tried to protect myself, and I didn't expect it to be like this." A curiosity surged in my heart, this power not only breaks the way, but also fights? It feels a bit damn. They took advantage of the trouble to retreat into the hidden cave, and the fire there shook, bringing a little warm light. Grok sat down, rubbed the blood-stained fur, and asked, "Why are you helping us? Will this dragon bury us all here when it gets out of control?" Arian leaned against the stone wall, his shoulders still hurting. He said, I didn't want to be a hero, but those guys are chasing me more tightly than you. It's better to get it together. Sirius interjected in his brain, his voice calmly, don't be anxious first, Grok. He only found out about this, and he would kill everyone. Grok snorted, we will eat the risk of the enemy every day. You have this power, we have minions, isn't it better to fight the Empire together? Arian listened to their conversation and thought to himself, this old man is finally willing to help, not just complain. He interrupted, okay, let's try. But I have to figure out the low words first, otherwise I might destroy myself next time. Grok stretched out his hand, we provide information, you provide that storm. Deal? Arian held his hand, deal, but if something happens, I won't carry it. They moved to a quiet corner, and the flames illuminated only a small schist. Sirius spoke, his voice was a little tired, boy, my family was completely destroyed by the Empire because of dragon language. I don't want to live like that anymore. Arian was surprised and asked anxiously, really? Then why did you teach me? He tried to make a picture and said, I understand, this thing is like a bad beast, biting himself first if you miss it. Sirius mocked and replied, what do you know? Just a shitty boy. But Arian heard the fatigue in his head and thought, this old man has a basic story, maybe we can get a little bit. He stood up, held the short knife, and watched the fire flash. No matter what, we have to move forward. Next time we meet them, I won't just hide. Grok patted his back, good brother, let's have fun together. The sound from afar came, and Arian turned around and thought to himself, this is not just about escaping, we have a chance to fight back. Arian led Grok into the woodland, and the night was pressed down like a thick blanket, and the shadows of trees around them were swaying in the wind, making people feel that the world was shaking. His brain began to buzz again, and his low voice was like a sudden rain hitting his brain, which was even more violent than before. The sound of death is always to pick on this kind of thing. He thought to himself, his pace couldn't help but speed up, and the wound on his shoulder hurt again. Boy, have you heard it? Feng is talking, and it feels like warning us. Grok smelled the air, his ears tilted high. His voice was low, like an old warrior reminding the newbies. Arian pointed his head, held the short knife, and stared at the dragon's sacred monument with vines in front of him. The moonlight shines on the stone, making it look like a living creature. I have to figure this out, he said, his voice softly, with a stubbornness. He stood in front of the monument, took a few deep breaths, and tried to calm his brain. Those strange sounds emerged from the throat, and the low voices responded, like flames jumping in the brain. In an instant, the air was twisted, and he saw the illusion. At the battlefield, the dragon danced with weapons, shouted and killed each other in the flames intertwined. This time, he did not retreat. Wait, I can control it this time. He thought to himself, feeling the blood flowing faster in his body. He stretched out his hand, the flames in his vision became real, and a firewall suddenly rose in front of them, causing the soldiers of the patrol to retreat in a daze. That's forbidden magic. Hurry up and grab them, a soldier shouted, rushing over with a torch. Arian grinned and shouted to Grok, brother, look at me. He turned around, focused, and let the illusion extend. An illusionary dragon shadow emerged from behind the monument, scaring the soldiers scattered. You guys think we're bullying? Grok roared, holding Arian with his body, grabbing the stone on the ground and throwing it over. The soldiers cursed and retreated, but their heads were still shouting, don't run away, the Empire will not let you go. They took advantage of the trouble toward the rock master, and Grok's nose led the way in the dark. Come on, I can hear them smell. Grok gasped and pushed Arian. The rock creeps were tight and narrow, and their breathing sounded rumbling between the stone walls. The soldiers shouted outside, we know you are inside, roll me out. Arian leaned against the stone wall, his brain still buzzing. This power is really crazy, I just used it to counteract. He thought to himself, his chest undulating. Grok squatted down and said in a low voice, boy, the things in your brain are not just about cheating you, it can help you. Remember when I was a kid? It's not the only one who hears those sounds. I saved a dragon, and the Imperial riders chased me for the whole winter. They said that was taboo, but I think that was our instinct. Arian widened his eyes, and heard Grok say so much for the first time. You? Then why didn't you say it? He asked, his voice strikingly surprised. Grok slammed his head. I don't want you to feel that you are not alone too early. What if you get rid of it? But you just made that move. We all say that there is an opportunity in the mess. Arian slowly calmed down. Thank you, man. I thought this would only hurt me, and I didn't expect it to be a weapon. The soldiers' shouts went away, and they quietly slipped out of the rocket and ran towards the ground of the beast. In the campground, the bonfire was burning vigorously, illuminating the tent and surrounding circles. Several demon exiles surrounded the fire, their eyes swept over, full of curiosity and doubt. This human being? Hearing that he can control dragon language may be a trap in the Empire. A demon said in a low voice, and the sound and video were trying. Grok walked forward and patted Arian on the back. He's not a trap. He just scared the soldiers with dragons. We have to cooperate. Arian cleared his throat and looked at them directly. I'm not a big shot. This power often burns my brain, like fire in the head. But today, I used it to counter. We can use it together. Maybe we can deal with the men in the Empire. The demons exchanged their eyes and snatched their heads. The risk is too great. We don't want to be caught. Grok interrupted. Do you see it? This is a chance. He saved us, and I won't let him take it alone. They discussed for a while, and the last demon reached out. Okay, let's try. But if something happens, everyone will split up. Aaron held his hand. I won't let you take a waste of money. He thought to himself, with these people, this is not just a single bet, it feels like a team. Grok sat down and surrounded the fire and said, We are never alone. Tomorrow, we will find more people. Aaron looked at the flames, grabbed a wooden stick and poked the fire. Come on, tell me your plan. Let's go to the storm together. The lowly voices in the campsite rose and fell, like a fresh air, creating a stream of hope. The next morning, the ground was still smoked, and as soon as Arian pulled everyone out, they started. The fog was as thick as a group of wet towels, covering the woodland, and they pushed open the branches and advanced towards the fog sky. The fog feels weird, as if there are two eyes staring at the back. Arian said, pulling the wound on his shoulder, but he gritted his teeth and speeded up his pace. Grok walked in the front, his ear twisting and twisting, as if he was catching the secret in the wind. Boy, are you sure it's worth it? The last time the monument was already in trouble. He asked, his voice rude, as if he was challenging. Behind him, Raz and his demon companions gasped. I don't want to hang it off in this ghost place. Raz was grunting, holding the raw lens dagger tightly in his hand. When they arrived at the entrance of the harbor, the sky was still shrouded. The ancient stone arch stands, and the vines are roaming like snakes. The air had the moisture of soil, and there was a tremor mixed with vibration, making Arian's brain buzz. There is something here. He murmured, reaching out to touch the runes on the door. Those low-pitched voices came in again, and this time it was even more violent, like rain hitting the brain. As soon as my finger touched the hidden crystal, the whole place swayed. Ripples burst out, the smoke and trees twisted into a messy illusion, and they fell into a mist. Oh, what's going on? Arian gasped, trying to calm down. Grok grabbed his arm and shouted, Boy, what are you doing? That thing is controlling you. His hands were too big, and he pulled Arian and refused to let him move forward. Raz took a step back with a start. He did it again. We're going to be a fool, he shouted, his eyes filled with panic. Arian sucked hard, pressing down the buzzing sound. These sounds are like skin-guided tours, and they always take me in half, but what if they are wrong? He thought to himself, and his brain heated up, trying to respond to those low words. I have to try it, this is a thread, he said. His voice was stubborn, but he knew that this time might not be simple. In the hallucination, there is an ancient war scene that is overlapping, with flashes of fire and whispers. The scene of the ancient dragon war appeared in front of Aaron. The giant dragon roared in the sky, the soldiers screamed in the fire, and he could not move. There's absolutely a problem with this guy. I can't let it swallow me, he thought, his chest tightening. Suddenly, his dragon power spread to the surroundings, and Raz began to see his past, an image of a demon village destroyed in the fire of war. Raz widened his eyes. Diet, you pulled me into my nightmare. What kind of trick is this? Grok sniffed the air and pushed Arian. Wake up, come with me. My nose can tell the truth, but you pulled everyone in. He said, and Raz yelled at Arian, do you think you're so bad? Now all my memories are revealed. Will we fall here? His words made the team tighten and everyone pushed each other. Sorry, I can't control it. Arian said, gritting his teeth and focusing. But we have to find the outlet and crack the verbal balance method. He shouted, a shadow swept towards them, and Grok broke it apart. I have lost my tribe in a similar fog, don't let it happen again. Grok said in a low voice. Res was not willing to be outdone. That past is too heavy, why are you following him? Because he's not a single mess. Grok turned his head. We are a vicious person who knows how to cooperate, but you have to stop coming back. Arian heard, feeling a warm feeling rising. This guy is reliable, unlike those Imperial men. He thought, and seized the opportunity to shout, if you hear me, the balance method is to not let the sound pass you. Use your senses to distinguish. They moved forward slowly. Grok avoided the illusion and tested the way. Okay, let's try it. But if something happens, you have to be responsible, he said. Arian pointed, I won't let you take a waste of life after the deal. A flash of light flashed, and they rushed out of the mystery and fell panting. The night was getting deeper and they started fires at the outskirts. The air became calm, and Grok sat down and said inadvertently, the dragon language has never been a destruction, but a balanced language, but the Empire twisted it. When I was a child, I saw it save people and destroy people. Rez asked curiously, why are you holding this? Grok shook his head, because I don't want to lose it anymore. Arian stared at the fire. I thought this was my burden, and now we all carry similar chains on our backs. He said. Grok responded, boy, the sound in your brain is not a curse, but a key to power, but don't let it swallow you. Raz pointed, we have to cooperate to deal with those guys. Arian grabbed the stick and poked the fire. Come on, say plan. Let's storm together. He thought to himself, this is not just a single bet, but with them, I feel that I can survive. Beside the fire, the low voice gradually calmed down. He took a deep breath and was ready to face the next challenge. The night became darker, and the fire of the fire flashed before Arian's eyes. He stood up and patted the ashes on his pants. Come on, we can't drag it anymore. There is something calling me in the passage at the entrance. His voice was anxious, but his fingers were still shaking slightly, and the buzzing sound was just overwhelming in his brain. Grok grabbed the axe and hummed. You guy, you're always too fast. Let's go, but if something goes wrong this time, I'm not responsible. He walked towards the crack next to the stone arch, and the air was gasping for breath, carrying a low buzz. Res followed behind, holding a dagger in his hand, and swept his eyes. Aren't you here in trouble? You want to swallow people at a glance. He muttered, full of suspicion. They slid into the passage, and the darkness swallowed everything in one go. Arian's hand touched the runes on the wall, and the patterns were hot, as if they had come alive. This is our chance, he said, but thought to himself, Diet, it feels like I'm jumping into a mud pit, and I have to dig a hole to escape. Suddenly, a glimmer of light burst out from the rune, and he instinctively reached out and touched it. The cave swayed, and an invisible force pushed open the raz like a wave. Oh, you guys. What are you fucking? Raz shouted, trying to grab Arian's arm, but was swept and fell to the ground. Arian, are you doing something again? He got up, took a step back, staring at the light of the runes. At this moment, the sound of footsteps spread far away, mixed with the impact of metal collisions. Grok turned his head suddenly and sniffed the air. Don't die, there are pursuers. He growled and grabbed Arian's shoulder. Boy, stay calm. This place is not just an illusion, we are in trouble. Aaron took a deep breath and pressed down the buzzing. I'm fine, this is the link of Gulong. I have to unravel it, or we're all done. He said hurriedly, his voice carrying stubbornness. You guard the door, if I get stuck, pull me back. Raz slams his head and his face changes. Your unrecognizable frustration looks true. But once you can't come out, we'll be done. Despite the complaints, he still started to take action and tried to feel the spirit around him. Okay, I'll help you. Tell me what you're looking at. The fantasy suddenly pulled Arian away, and his eyes turned into a messy mist corridor. The images of the ancient war were flashing, and the dragon's roar exploded, and he felt blood burning all over his body. What kind of ghost thing is this? Every scream wants to tear me apart. He thought to himself, gritting his teeth and calming himself. Suddenly, an illusion came, like a knife poking his brain. Arian! Focus! Raz shouted from outside, his voice coming from the water. I saw the spirit twitching, tell me how to help. Grok slammed the axe and scattered the shadows around him. I'll hold it here. Don't let those pursuers come in. His roar returned to the cave. Arian shouted, these memories are awful. Gulong is roaring, but there is a thread in it. He tried to capture a stable picture. Raz, guide me. I feel something is attacking. Raz cursed and said, Mom, this is more crazy than I thought. Which one do you have to say is fake? He stretched out his hand and pulled the spirit. Concentrate on that rune. Don't let it spread. Just as they worked together, Arian's power unexpectedly reversed. Grok suddenly froze, his eyes widened, as if he had seen something from the past. No. My home. He murmured, gasping as if he was being pinched. Arian, your thing, it pulled me back to memory. Grok's axe fell down, and he held his head in both hands. The dragon language destroyed my village, thinking it could save people, but only fire and ashes were brought. Arian was shocked and replied in a panic, Grok, sorry. I didn't want it to do this. He shouted, trying to suppress the illusion. Raz, help him. We need to untie it quickly. Raz's eyes were wide and he tightly adjusted his spirit flow. Okay, I'll try it. Grok, take a deep breath. Don't let it control you. Grok slammed his head and grabbed the axe. I'm fine, boy. But think about it first next time. His words made the air tighter. The light in the illusion exploded, and Arian caught the key. Finished. Gulong said that balance is cooperation, not force. He shouted, and a force pushed him out. As the pursuer's footsteps approached, several blurred figures appeared at the entrance of the cave. They fell out of the illusion, and Arian knelt on the ground, gasping for breath. Grok helped him up. Boy, you've played so hard this time, he said, his voice low. Laz leaned against the wall and wiped his sweat. You are so healthy that you are not dead. Warn us next time. Despite the thorns, his eyes were a little softer. They rushed back to the fire jumped, and everyone sat down and gasped. Grok stared at the flames and slowly opened his mouth. When I was young, I thought dragons could change everything. As a result, it destroyed my home. It was not a relief, it was a pain. Arian looked at him and asked, then why are you following me? Grok shook, because we have to unravel these troubles together so that we will not repeat it. Raz heard it, curiosity flashed through his eyes. You don't look like a casual team. I thought this was a slap, now. Arian stopped, we are in the team now, right? Let's go together for the next challenge. He grabbed the wooden stick and poked the fire, thinking, with them here, it's not that lonely. The heat of the fire slowly surrounded them, and they sat quietly, ready to face the pursuers who were about to arrive. They fell out of the cave illusion, and Arian slammed his butt on the ground, his shoulders were sore, and his brain was still buzzing. The night was wrapped in the woodland, and the flames of fire jumped and illuminated the two breathing faces of Grok and Raz. Don't die, what kind of ghost thing is this? Aaron gasped, pressing his chest with one hand, feeling his heart beat like a drumstick. This illusion made my brain messy. Grok grabbed the axe and stared at the floating light around him, like a pile of shaking shadows flashing among the trees. "Boy, what did you do?" he growled, pulling Arian up, his posture as stable as a mountain. "Those flames look fake, but don't think they can touch each other." Rez leaned against the tree, spitting out, and cursed, "Is it you who got involved again? It's like this every time, making us feel like we're rushing in a haunted house." He waved his hands and turned the low dragon roar, and the air became so sticky that it made people want to vomit. Arian slammed his head and stood firmly. "Grok, these flames are the illusion of reminiscence. We must break our hands," he shouted, with a wave of dissatisfaction in his voice. Grok clicked the head and put the axe on the front. "Okay, I'm not here to revenge, but to avoid letting the past mess up." He rushed forward, and the axe slashed at a group of shadows. Sparks burst out, and Rez jumped in a fright. "Mom, Arian, you have to say it quickly," Rez shouted, grabbing Arian's arm. "Is this the trap of Gulong? Or are you hiding some secret?" Suddenly, the fantasy pulled them in, and the surroundings turned into a chaotic battlefield, with dragons scattered, and the invisible network of audio and video trapped them. Arian felt the blood in his body was burning and thought, "This place is crazy, my blood seems to be responding to these things." He shouted loudly, "Raz, help me to suppress these echoes. They are like living things." Raz's eyes widened. "What are you talking about?" "Okay, I'll try. But you have to explain what's going on. Are you hiding a big secret?" He stretched out his hand, groping around the energy flow, and trying to pull the light and shadows. Grok suddenly slammed, and the axe slashed a barrier, sparking 4 times. "I'll take this," he roared, moving as fast as a wild beast. Suddenly, he froze, staring at the images in the illusion. "Wait, this shadow." Laz approached and patted his shoulder. "Grok, are you fucking? Don't let this thing grab your brain." Grok took a deep breath. "I'm fine, just these illusions poke someone like a knife." Laz hummed and helped him cover the little wound on his arm. "You're always dressed like nothing, but you always put it on first. Come on, don't put it, we have to look at each other." Grok pushed him out and awkwardly, Okay. "Laz, you're such a kid, but you're right." Just when the illusion was at its most chaotic, Arian felt a strange force storing out of his body, and a wall of light rose in front of him, forcing the echoes to retreat. He thought to himself, "Is this my blood moving? It feels like someone is in the ears." Gulong said that balance requires cooperation. He shouted, and Raz responded, "Then cooperate." "Aaron, your move is too strange. Is Long helping you?" Grok held back another wave of attacks. "Boy, don't be stunned, use that thing. We have to press them." The 3 of them worked together to guide the energy, and the energy flow retreated like a wave, and the illusion began to collapse. Everything dissipated, and they returned to the fire. The air calmed down, and the fire was warm and round. Arian knelt down and gasped, "Thank you, I'll be swallowed without you." Grok sat down and wiped his sweat. "You're so unrecognizable as a scoundrel. You always drag us into trouble, but there's always a way to do it." Raz smiled and said, "Yes, Arian, you're like a master of the game. Next time, tell me your blood secrets first. Don't let us touch the elephant like a blind man." Arian grinned, "Okay, I'm still understanding myself. The guy Suri has always said half hidden, like toothpaste." They were resting around the fire, and Raz helped Grok fix the wound. Grok said in a low voice, "Raz, this cooperation is good. Next time, don't just curse and use your brain more." Raz replied, "You should smile more, old man." "Arian, seriously, what is your dragon knowledge? It feels like a key. What can you open?" Arian grabbed a piece of wood. The stick poked the fire and thought to himself, "This blood secret is getting worse and worse. Why does Surias always lead me? Hebrak's shadow also appears, and it's so irritating." He raised his head. "They seem to be saying that dragons are not only broken, but can also be rebuilt. But I have to understand myself first." The flames of fire were flashing, and he stared at them, ready to face the next unknown. fire-burning Mars jumped in the night wind, and Arian sat on the ground with his legs on his plate, trying to take a deep breath and walk through the dead buzzing sound in his brain. He rubbed his son's hole and thought to himself, this sound is like a little devil playing with a bead in his brain, and he always doesn't know how to pick it. The surrounding woodland was surrounded, and the air was sticky as if it was about to stick to his lungs. The confusing echoes came from afar, making him look unfavorable. Arian, are you stupid again? Sitting like a wooden head. Raz leaned against the tree and talked, but glanced at Arian's twitching shoulder. Brother, your face is as white as a ghost. Is that thing in your brain doing something again? Arian opened his eyes quietly and stood up with his fists. I tried to let it stop, he gasped, feeling a stinging pain swelling from his spine. But it seems like it is holding me in, pulling me in. As the voice fell, his vision blurred, and the shadow of the fire twisted into a dark vortex. Raz was startled and took a step back. Oh my God, Arian! Your eyes are flashing. Grok, come! Grok put down his axe, strode forward, and grabbed Arian's arm. Boy, don't move. What's going on? His voice was steady, like a mountain without moving, but his eyebrows were tightly locked. Arian slammed and murmured, Herbrak, it's digging my brain. Suddenly, a force pulled him into the depths of his mind. They were pulled into a chaotic phantom battle, with sharp echoes slapped like waves, and dark vortexes spiraled around them. Hebrak's shadow appeared, a group of vague things roared, this darkness will swallow the blood you and me shared, surrender, Arian. Arian felt the heat all over his body and thought, it's like stepping on a landmine now. My blood is not only swaying, but also pulling my back legs. He shouted, Raz, build a barrier for me. Grok, you go and squirt those whirlpools. The lash point is on the head and the eyes are flashing. Okay, I'll try it. But your blood is so crazy. I thought my past was already in trouble. He snatched his hands and created a layer of light network. So quickly, what made this come in? What are you hiding? Grok rushed towards the vortex, and his fist hit him, sparking 4 times. I'll stay here, he shouted. Arian, use your blood to fight back. Don't be there. At this moment, Sirius's voice echoed in Arian's brain, your blood is like a double-faced blade, it can save you and destroy you. Grab your stability. Arian thought to himself, this old man is half-talking Hanzo, like a guy who loves Guanzi, but now it feels like a life-saving straw. He took a deep breath and shouted, Sirius, help me strengthen it. Energy gushed out from Arian's body, combined with Raz's light network, and the barrier rose slowly. Hebrak's shadow swept over and growled, do you think the barrier can sway me? Your ancestors defected, and the forbidden fragments will destroy you. Raz Griffin, Grok, press the left side. Arian, why do you always wait until the last moment to speak? I don't want to be pulled into the water by you. Grok fisted hard and slashed the cracker. Boy, don't let it get close. We'll carry it together, but you have to tell it clearly next time. Aaron gritted his teeth, okay, I'll say. This blood comes from my ancestors, and they defected to something forbidden. I don't know the details, but it's like a curse chasing me. The barrier was stable, and Hebrak's shadow faded. Arian knelt down and gasped. Raz patted him on the back, we've done it. But your secret is too dangerous. Don't hide it next time, we're teammates, not passers-by. They were knocked back to the fire, and the air was a little refreshed. The rest was still flashing, and Raz sat down with soft eyes. Actually, I also encountered similar silly when I was a kid. My family was banned and destroyed. It always looked for people who should not be looked for. He looked at Arian, but you are not like me. You can catch it. Arian grabbed the stick and poked the fire, thinking, this old man's words sound like a warning. I have to take the initiative to dig out the truth and can't be moved anymore. He smiled embarrassedly, thank you, Raz. Seriously, I have to know more about Hebrak. Next time we should look for a rope, not wait for it. Grok pointed, yes, cooperation is enough. But you have to open up first. Arian stared at the flames and felt a sense of determination. He stood up and said, "Okay, let's go. Can't wait any longer." Yifeng blew over, and he grabbed his backpack and walked towards the woodland. Arian walked down the ancient stone with a fog of morning fog. The stone is as smooth as the bones smoothed by time, and the air is heavy, huddled with echoes and musty smells. He felt his chest tightening and thought to himself, this place is like a living thing, waiting for us to step on it. "Arian, where does this stone level lead?" Rez walked in a low voice, his voice rumbling in the damp air. His hand held a shiny branch, illuminating the front. "I think it's more than just a road, it feels like a trap." Grok walked behind, his backpack on his shoulders, breathing calmly. "Don't worry, the point is that we're going to get it fast." "Arian, is your blood still stable? Don't do it suddenly again." Arian clicked and accelerated his pace. "Still it. But I have to find that crystal." They went to the entrance of the hall, and the air became more intense, and the low voice jumped in the wall like the farther ear words. He pushed open a stone door, and the door opened with a squeak, revealing the chaotic space inside. The crystal is in the center, like a luminous block. "What is that?" Raz looked closer and narrowed his eyes. "It looks like your blood is urging." Arian reached out and touched the crystal. A stinging his arm, he took a step back with a startle. "Don't die, this thing has come alive." The environment began to twist, the stone walls around it swayed like the water surface, and the low words turned into sharp roars. Hebrax's phantom stormed out of the crystal, and a vague shadow roared, "Defector, your blood will swallow you." Rez hurriedly snatched his hands and created a layer of light network. "Arian, stand firm. I'll hold it," he shouted, his voice swaying. "Grok, press here." Grok rushed forward, his fist hit the phantom, sparking 4 times. "Boy, what are you wielding? This shadow is like a crazy dog biting." Arian felt his head twisted, and the heat waves in his body were shaking. He thought to himself, this blood is causing trouble again, like a broken engine dragging me in. He shouted, "Raz, it is saying that my ancestors defected to the language war. I have to suppress it." The phantom approached, and the roar was like a slap in the waves. "Your ancestors betrayed the forbidden words, and now the fragments will destroy you all." The environment became chaotic, the interior of the room was whirling like a swirl, and the floor was bent upwards. "Raz, I can't hold it back." Arian gasped, his eyes blurred. He recalled the flash-like image, and his ancestors fled on the battlefield, leaving behind a curse of blood. He thought to himself, this double-faced blade is really terrible, saving me and harming me. Raz grabbed his arm and provided energy. "I also saw this kind of slap when I was, and my family collapsed because of the runes. But you won't give up, let me help you calm it." His voice was calm, as if he was talking about his own affairs. Grok yelled, "Don't be stunned. Arian, use your blood to fight back." He punched a phantom, and the pieces scattered. Arian took a deep breath and felt the energy flowing out. He shouted, "Okay, I'll come. Raz, strengthen your light network." They pressed towards the crystal together, and the barrier slowly stabilized. The phantom fades, weakening of the whisper. "We're coming soon," Raz said, sweat slid down from the magnitude. "Your blood is too strong, but we can withstand it." Grok relaxed his breath and took a step back. "Boy, I'm pretty stable. Don't hide it next time." Arian knelt down and gasped. He looked at Raz and thought to himself, this guy is not only reliable, but also understands my mischief. He stood up and patted Raz on the shoulder. "Thank you, Raz. I won't escape again next time. We have to face each other." The energy of the crystal is stable and the room is back to normal. Raz pointed, her eyes softened. "Yes, we are partners. Let's go." Arian grabbed his backpack and walked towards the exit, thinking, this time it's different. I won't be dragged away by blood again. Arian pushed open the stone door of the room and stepped onto the woodland cushion in a hurry. The night was light, and the dawn was covered with gray fog. The damp earthy smell mixed with the birds everywhere, making his heart beat faster. He shook his head and tried to press the low voices on his ears. Raz and Grok followed closely, and the sound of his backpack hitting the branches, like a bell reminding them to walk. "Arian, you just talked there and it sounded weird," Raz asked, and the flashlight jumped on the tree. His language was eager, as if he wanted to catch some thread. "Is that dragon coming again? Last time you fell down, we almost fell into the head. Are you going to pack it all night?" Arian gritted his teeth and thought, this blood always makes trouble when he is wrong, and it feels like a swarm of bees scattered in his brain. He didn't want to admit it, but Sirius's voice suddenly popped up. "Human, don't pretend. You know this is a test, use it to not let it control." He speeded up his pace and put it in a calm state. "It's okay, I'm just tired. We have to go to Tumka before the sun comes out. There's something in the family that can help me stay calm." Grok snorted and shook his backpack with his shoulders. "Boy, you say this every time. Is the blood stable? Do you want to stop? I don't want to carry you halfway." His words were rough, but his eyes were filled with worry. Rez echoed, "Yes, where are Hebrak's minions following him? We're so exhausted in the woods." Arian glanced at the shadows around him and complained in his heart, "This old man always loves to laugh at, saying it's like I'm not trying." But he knew Sirius was right, so he replied, "I'm stable, I have some new ways. I won't let it explode this time." They continued to move forward, and Rez suddenly shared his story. "I remember when I was a child, I heard similar stories in an aging village. Someone heard a strange sound, but he survived after finding the old stone tablet." "Where are you, Arian? What kind of ghost thing is this bloody selves?" "It's just a bunch of trouble," said Arian, flickering over a thorn. "My father passed it over and heard that he could talk to long. But now it seems like he is forcing me to prove himself." Grok interjected, "It's a big deal. If he really had that ability, why didn't he teach us? Next time the blood starts to go on, I don't want to just stand and watch." Their conversations made the air tight, and his feet were singing in the woods. When we reached the entrance to Tomb Saruka, the skylight turned gray. The tomb is hidden behind the tree, and the stone tablet stands in the dim stone chamber, with the air as heavy as if it is about to crush people. Arian stepped in and his low voice suddenly became stronger. He felt blood in his body swelling. "Okay," he thought to himself, "I'm going to take charge this time." He held the steel, took a deep breath, and said to Sirius, "Tell me what to do." Sirius's voice sounded in his brain, "Concentrate and find the thread of the family's memory. It is trying you, not destroying you. The illusion begins to come, not to be a mess, but to flash the scene." Edwin's image appeared, standing on the battlefield, dancing with a sword. "I chose this to protect everything about us," the video said in a low voice. "Do you understand?" Rez watched Arian froze and grabbed his arm tightly. "Hey, wake up. You're in again," he shouted. Grok rushed forward and punched the stone tablet. "Boy, don't get too deep. Say it." Aaron slammed, thinking in his heart, "This illusion is like a whirlpool, but I can push back what Sirius said." He shouted, "Edwin, I understand. This power is not just a destruction." The image is blurred, and the shouts of warfare in the family turned into echoes. "Hold me!" Arian gasped and Rez tightened his arm. "Are you fucking? Tell me clearly." Grok yelled, "If this is a bloody trick, you should die, we have to help." The illusion became weak. Arian took a step back, sweating flowing. "Thank you, he said, his eyes becoming calm. "I just saw my brother's memory, it gave me a new trick. The pressure inside the stone chamber is gentle, and the stone tablet becomes deeper." Arian reached out to touch the center, and a light flashed, and the talisman fell to his palm. "This thing can beat Hebrak," he said. Raz's eyes widened. "You almost didn't come back. You're like you've changed now." "What's that?" Grok crossed his arms. "Boy, don't carry it yourself next time. Tell me, how do we use this thing?" Arian held the tightening talisman and thought, "This is different, Sirius helped me." Suri is mocked, humans are finally learning to be obedient. But Heian is still waiting. He pointed and turned to the exit. Raz and Grok followed, their steps back, carrying a decisive rhythm. Arian led Raz and Grok out of the tomb, and the morning fog was like a group of cold fogs that sucked their legs. They ran along the woodland, stepping on the soil and flying, with the air filled with damp leaves and a slight pungent metal smell. Arian grabbed the talisman, and the thing moved slightly in his palm, making his heart beat faster. This thing is not just a decoration, it is waiting for my orders. He thought, and while speeding up, they had to reach the rift valley of the sky before the sun climbed the mountain. Arian, this place gives me a feeling of being unfavorable. Raz gasped, and the flashlight in his hand swayed, swaying light and shadows in the fog. We said there are guardians here, should we try it later? Is your guardian reliable? Last time it almost made us fall in love with it. Grok snorted and laughed, his backpack shaking all over his body. You guys always love to drag us into this game. If something really happens, I won't be with you. His words were rough, but his steps were steady, which made him not really want to leave. Arian glanced at them and thought to himself, this guy complained and complained, but kept up every time. Maybe they were more reliable than I thought. He raised his guard and shouted to them, don't panic, this can help me lock my energy. We have to attack before the guys in Hebrak arrived. They might be nearby. When they reached the entrance of the Rift Valley, the air was heavily pressed down, and the old stone pillars pointed straight to the sky like twisted giant fingers. A low buzzer emerged from the crack, and it sounded like a dragon scattered far away, causing Arian's ears to buzz. He took a deep breath, pressed the guardrail against the stone pillar, and whispered, okay, now. Let me try to control this. The energy exploded instantly, and a dazzling light flashed from the guard talisman, resonating with the echo of the Rift Valley. A wild wind swayed like a huge wave, twisting the surrounding air into an invisible sharp blade. Res shouted, oh no, Arian. Your move is so fierce. My words have become a messy replies. His voice was instantly amplified, turning into an attacking wave, sweeping from the air towards an enemy who had emerged from behind the stone pillar. Grok suddenly pulled out the axe in his hand and slashed the invisible, striking, see ghost, this storm turned every word into a weapon. Aaron, don't stand just to get it done. He slashed at the enemy with the axe blade hitting the stone, sparking out, forcing his opponent to retreat. Arian felt a heat thrust his brain, and the reaction of the talisman made him squirt with both hands, but he clenched his teeth and thought, this blood is like a beast pulling me, I have to obey it. He shouted, Raz, use your rune to pressure this wind. It bites us. Suddenly, an unexpected shadow emerged from the crack, a small dragon-shaped creature with its eyes flashing with blue light, as if it was the shadow of the ancient guardian. It thrusts towards the enemy, its paws tearing their defenses to create opportunities for the team. Raz leaned against the stone pillar and began to chant the mantra he learned from the Naging village, okay, I'll go. Remember that old man? His words turned into a wall of light, stabbing the storm. Grok grabbed the air file and rushed forward and punched an enemy. You guys think this storm can handle us? Come on. But he suddenly stopped and said in a low voice, when I was a kid, I saw a similar chaos. At that time, my family was swallowed up. I thought that from now on, no one would let him carry it. Arian heard Grok's words and felt a slump in his heart, this old man's scar is deeper than I expected. He adjusted the talisman, pushed the energy backward, and shouted to the guardian, hey, you're such a thing. Help us lock the enemy. The creature let out a low growl, resonating with the talisman, causing the storm to turn towards the enemy. Raz gasped, I never thought my knowledge would be of such a great use, especially for a hard-skinned guy like you. The battle became more intense, the stone pillars began to shake, and the gravel fell like rain. Grok yelled, boy, I won't let you fight alone this time. He took another attack, and the axe was swept like a whirlwind. The enemy began to retreat, and the wind was weak, but Arian knew that Hebrak's tragedy had revealed the tip of the iceberg. After the storm subsided, they retreated to the depths of the rift, and the remaining energy rippled in the air like waves. Arian leaned against the stone wall and gasped, "This is not the end. They want to use this storm to get rid of marijuana. We have to keep a close eye on it." Rez wiped off his sweat and said, "You're right, we can't get into trouble anymore." Grok held the axe and said in a low voice, "This time, I'll be by your side." Arian looked at them and thought to himself, "We're finally like a team, it doesn't feel bad." He straightened up and was about to continue moving forward. The morning light leaked from the stone rift in the sky, and on the stone walls of Arian and his partners, these stones also had cracks that had just been fought, and the air was sticky like a wet towel. The illusion of Hebrax suddenly came over, twisting everything around him into a messy scene. The trees were swaying in strange twists, and their low voices buzzed around Arian's ears, making him want to vomit. He thought to himself, "This ghost thing is coming again, like a malicious dream that refuses to leave." He held the tight talisman, his palms were burning, and tried to calm himself. "Arian, what's this?" Ras took a step back, his eyes widened, and the flashlight shook in the fog. "I've never seen this, it looks like a party that's in trouble. Why didn't you tell me earlier that your blood would cause these troubles?" Grok held the axe tightly and his face turned blue. "This place is crazy, boy. What plan do you have? The last time I was sweating all over my body." His voice was low, as if he was suppressing something, but he was still standing in front of Arian. The dragon whispers became louder and louder, and Arian's brain buzzed. He recalled that future vision: if he were king, the village would have burned like the last battle, and everyone would have died. He thought to himself, "This bloody blood is a scheming situation, and I will always push me into the water." "Hear me, this is Hebrax's handwriting." Arian shouted loudly, overwhelming those low words. "It shows my future, and if I become king, I will repeat that battle. Everyone will suffer, including you." He looked at Grucken awkwardly. "I didn't want to vomit at first, but my blood made me hear dragon words, like a thorn poking me." "Ras, can you help me analyze those runes?" Ras stepped forward and knelt on the ground and quickly drew the runes. "Okay, I'll go. This rune has something to do with your talisman, but do you really want to give it up? You've always wanted to prove yourself when you hear it." His fingers were flying fast, and the rune lit up. Grok hummed, "I met a child like a child, and all my family was swallowed that day. I vowed never to let this happen again. Arian, if you don't have a good time, I won't risk it with you." His words made Arian stunned, thinking, "This old man's scar is deeper than I thought, and I thought he just likes to complain." They slowly moved to the edge of the rift, and the air became softer, shaking like water. The fog dissipated a little, revealing a bright space. Arian thought this was a transfer, but before he could open his mouth, Grok took out his amulet and accidentally touched the illusion. An energy burst out, the illusion suddenly magnified, the low voice turned into a scream, and the mist came like a wild beast. Grok shouted, "Die! I didn't want to be so troublesome. I tried to help, but it turned out to be even more mad." "Grok, your move is so powerful." Arian stepped back and thought to himself, "Don't be done, I've really gotten rid of this time, but I might be able to force out the opportunity." He raised the talisman and shouted to Ras, "Hurry, use the runes to suppress these sounds. I'm going to change dragon language into something healing." Las points and tightens the rune. "Okay, I remember the last move. This rune can lock the frequency of the dragon and help you stabilize your energy." The rune's light flashed, and Grok gritted his teeth and said, "Arian, use my amulet. But if you mess it up, I won't explain it." Arian took the amulet and thought to himself, "It feels like they are pulling me, it's no longer me." He matched the two guards together and shouted, "Okay, now. Let the dragons become life-saving straw." The energy surged like a tide, and the illusion began to disintegrate. Grok's eyes widened, "My amulet is burning, as if it had lived on its own." Ras said in a sweat, "Stay like this, Arian. We're about to seal this ghost thing." When the ceremonial reached a high point, Arian felt the blood in his body ignite. "I controlled it this time, not let it control me." He said loudly, "Herbrak, your vision is just a mirror, let me see clearly that the leader is a sack, not a domineering person." Grok took a deep breath. Boy, I didn't expect you to do this. But this time, I will stay by your side. Res said with a smile, we did it. This rune is super smooth with your blood. They walked to the monument deep in the Rift Valley, and the morning light filled the stones, like a new day. Arian lifted the talisman and said loudly, this is a new beginning, we won't follow the old path. He crushed the talisman hard, and the energy dissipated like a smoke. Grok said in a low voice, your move is so cruel, I thought it would explode. Res touched the monument, at least it was peaceful. Arian looked at them and thought to himself, it's a lot of trouble, but with them, I'm not alone. He patted Grok's shoulder and walked forward with his head.